Hello, today I'm making a video of how I roll out Pepparkakor cookies. That's a Swedish traditional spice cookie. My family has been eating them forever. I'm 72 and I know that I've eaten them since I had teeth, I'm sure. I've made them myself for about the last 40 years using my Aunt Ellen's recipe, my great Aunt Ellen's recipe. She came from Sweden she came from Finland by way of Sweden, and then eventually to Michigan in the Macomb County, where they lived on a farm. My Uncle Knut and their 3 daughters. So I'm using her recipe. I have adjusted the seasoning some, and anyway, we seem to think they're pretty good. I want to show you first that I use a pastry cloth. That's this cloth. And then a cover on the rolling pin. I have already put a lot of flour on here. It's necessary to have quite a bit of flour so that the very buttery dough does not stick on the cloth or on the rolling pin. And if I pat this, maybe you can see that there's flour bouncing here a little. The dough I prepared 2 days ago, and it's been chilling in the refrigerator since then. It has 2 sticks of butter, or half a pound, and 3.5 cups flour. A little less flour than the recipe normally called for, because I have a lot of flour on the pastry cloth and the rolling pin.
How does it get the dark look?
Oh, the coloring comes from the spices, cinnamon, cloves, and cinnamon, cloves.
No, Caro syrup?
Oh yes, sorry. And dark Caro syrup, but there's one more spice. I can't remember it right now. I'll get it. Cinnamon, cloves.
It'll be on the recipe that
It's on
we'll
the
show
recipe.
you later.
Look. Oh yeah. Ground ginger. all of the spices are ground spices. Okay, so now I have taken about 2 soup spoons of dough, heaping soup spoons of dough, flattened it out a little with my hands, turned it over, and now I'll start rolling with the rolling pin. The prize effect of these cookies is that they're so thin. Actually, my uncles would use to hold a Pepparkakor up to the light and say, yep, I can see through it. So that meant it had gotten so thin that light could come through. I trying to roll this in a way that makes it advantageous to get as many cookies out of one rolling as possible. I use I'll show you in a minute, a heart-shaped cookie cutter which has no sharp angles or little dangly noses or tails that would break off. And then I push the cookie cutter in. It's fixed to the cutter and comes down, there you go, on the tray. That one kind of came down fast. And then I try, because these one shape means you can nest the cookies on the cookie sheet. They don't spread, and you can get sometimes up 20, 30 on a sheet. Probably not 30, but 20. I'm going to just use up this dough, and I will show you what I do with the scraps of the dough after I've cut out the delicate hearts. I put the scraps in a Ziploc bag and save them to use when I'm going to use a more complicated cookie cutter, or if I wanted to make a cookie decoration to hang on a tree. You could use whatever cutter shape you want, poke a little hole with a straw in the unbaked cookie, and bake it, and then when it's cool, write on it God Jul, which means Merry Christmas, or anything else you'd like to put on it. String a yarn through the hole, and you can hang it on your tree. I would suggest hanging them up high so that the pets in your house don't get them when they're not supposed to. Almost done. The temperature in the oven is at 325, and the recipe says to bake for 5 minutes at 325. Well, that doesn't work. The cookies usually aren't done enough for me at that point. So this batch might go up to 8 to 10 minutes. You just have to keep watching. Don't leave the kitchen before the cookies are done. Don't leave them in the oven. Don't leave. Okay. I'm putting
Unattended.
these in the oven. Okay. And there they go, and I'll set the timer. I'm going to set it for 8 minutes this time. Now I have a tray of cookies that I baked previously, and I think they were just starting to get dark enough. And when I take them off the tray, I have a paper towel and then with wax paper on top, and take each cookie. They come off quite easily. I can see some flour on them and I can wipe that extra flour off, but they come out quite easily, and I place them singularly on the wax paper until they're cool. Then I stack them in stacks of 12, so I know how many dozen cookies I've baked. And they are very delicate and crisp. My husband just tasted one. He said they taste almost perfect. I said, oh dear, what can I make? How can I make them perfect? You'll see. I'm going to show you now the recipe for Pepparkakor, or Swedish spice cookies. Can you see that, Herb? Okay. Not a lot of ingredients. Dark Caro syrup is one. And now, these are tips I have for when I'm making the cookies or for packing them afterwards. And now to the back, to the front. Good. Well, as we say in Sweden, God jul, and, excuse me, I'm going to get something, varsågod. That means come and eat. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you try Pepparkakor cookies.